What's up, buddies? It's Concert Buddy. Thanks for joining me for another episode of Mind of the Record Collector here on Vinyl Community Podcasts. Today's conversation is one I shared recently with Scott Wilson. Scott has a YouTube channel called The Pressing Matters, and Scott has a unique perspective on collecting that I find contrary to a lot of community, in the sense that where a lot of us are seeking the vintage, used, OGs, originals, Scott actually doubles down on finding the very best of the best reissues, particularly of the audiophile variety, self-admitted audiophile. We'll kind of talk about that in the conversation. We also talk about why Scott started making YouTube videos like a lot of us have, and then also talk about his collecting journey, where he started, how long he's been collecting, all that kind of good stuff. And of course, want to end it on a positive note, so we have some rapid fire questions there at the end. But anyway, I really enjoyed this conversation. I feel like Scott did too, hopefully. And in turn, I hope you also enjoy this conversation. So enough talking, let's go.
It's official. MoFi-Gate is over, we think. And you've reached your vinyl resting place. This is Vinyl Community Podcasts.
Thank you, buddies, for checking out another episode of the series I'm calling Mind of the Record Collector. And I'm super excited to have my guest, Scott Wilson from the YouTube channel, The Pressing Matters, joining me. Scott, how are you?
I'm great. How are you today?
I'm living the dream, my friend, living the dream.
Me too.
No, I'm really excited because I know you came on our live stream a couple weeks ago and just been really looking forward to kind of asking you the probing questions. They're not really probing. We already kind of talked about what I'm going to ask you. but no, I think it'll be a good time, and
okay.
Let's have fun with it. All right. So, Scott, where I know you from, and hopefully some of my viewers and people listening to this on the Vinyl Community Podcasts feed have at least sampled some of your content, is on YouTube with your YouTube channel, The Pressing Matters. So I'd love to hear where that came from. What was your call to action? Were you like a lot of us that we were watching some of this vinyl community content and it was a call to action to kind of do our own thing, or kind of take me on that journey? What motivated you to start making YouTube content?
Actually, it was suggested by my roommate. He would see me, see my passion for collecting records and music and audio and so forth, and always spending hours and hours reading and researching, and also online looking at YouTube videos and stuff. And he said, "Why don't you do that? You have so much knowledge. You'd be perfect for that." I'm like, I don't know. I've never been in front of a camera before. I don't know. And I kind of dropped it. And then after a couple more prompts, I said, you know what? Damn it, I'm going to just sit down on the edge of my bed and do one.
Sure.
And if you go back to my first video, oh my God. That's exactly what I'm doing. No lighting, no microphone, just sitting on the edge of my bed, rambling on. But I did it. And I said, okay, I did it. And that was the start. Yeah. So I kind of relaxed after 2 or 3 videos, and started to perfect my online presence and stuff, and finally I got comfortable with it.
Nice. Yeah, I would say, well, the question I have right away is, have you gone back and watched those first couple of videos just for the novelty of it, or are they so cringeworthy you just don't even want to, you're going to black it out? How do you feel about that?
I want to take them down, but he says, no, you got to leave them up there because it shows progress.
I agree with that. I know some people refuse to watch those first videos. It's like Bambi learning to walk kind of thing. But I think it's necessary, right? I think it's important.
Yeah.
Exactly like you said, is that anybody who tries this, not just vinyl community videos, but any kind of thing that's new to them and or being in front of the camera, it's a very foreign thing for a lot of us, right? I think you got to get those sea legs out. So I'm happy to hear that you, like a lot of people, myself included, those first videos are just tough. I even went back and redid my thumbnails. I was like, I'm going to leave the videos here, but at least I can improve the thumbnail quality. And even then, it's like brutal.
Yeah, I've thought about that too. Yeah, but then they see the nice thumbnail and they click on it and they're like,
That's true. That is kind of, yeah, it's kind of a disconnect. Yeah, that's fair. So where did you come up with the name The Pressing Matters? Like, obviously when you started the channel, was it just under your name, or did you already have an idea of like, hey, I'm going to call my channel The Pressing Matters?
No. Marco, who appeared in one of my videos, is my roommate and a good friend for many years.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of wanted to do it as a joint project. And so he came up with a lot of the original, he got things set up for me. All I had to do was come up with the content at first. And we brainstormed some titles for the channel, and that's what we landed on. It was really that was his pick.
Okay.
I thought it was a little hard to say, or I don't know, a little cumbersome. I thought something a little more catchy would be better, but it really kind of hones in on what I focus on, which is the pressings, the quality of the pressings and so forth. So,
yeah, I would agree with that for sure. I mean, I think you've been doing, correct me if I'm wrong, Scott, 2021, is that when you started your channel, or was it before that?
No, 21. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, just in a short time, I mean, you're at over 6,000 subs. I mean, you've had a lot of really good organic growth. So I think that speaks to the kind of content you're putting out there.
Yeah, I think it was May or June 2021. So it's been 2 years now.
That's awesome. That's really great.
Yeah. But it's a long, slow process, as you know.
Oh. It's the slowest. Sometimes it's the slowest. Well, and I think, and maybe you don't feel this way, but I know when I've talked to other creators, sometimes you can kind of get wrapped up in that numbers game, right? Like, you see the numbers, or you look at your analytics, and you're like, why? I know I've made videos that I've been like super excited. I'm like, man, I really knocked it out of the park. This is a great video, and I put a lot of work into it, and then it's dead on arrival. Meanwhile, a video I just rushed to put out just to make sure I was hitting something like once a week, etc. And I was like, oh, this is a disposable video. It just shoots to the moon. So there's no rhyme or reason to that. Can you relate?
Yeah, I can totally relate. Things that I really thought were like a super well done video and like nicely researched and lots of interesting cut-ins and so forth didn't register. And then something that I whip off in like 10 minutes and throw together, like, I don't know, just this recent one, like, I mean, I kind of thought it out, but Chet, the mono versus the stereo.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't spend a lot of time on that video, and it took off like immediately. I guess it's just the content. I mean, Record Store Day was a big deal in the community. It wasn't that big a deal for me. I don't really participate in it that much.
Okay.
I'm sorry to say, but I do pick up stuff that I was interested in on the secondary market soon afterwards. So like for Chet, I was able to get the mono the next day.
There you go. Okay.
From the End Groove for $32. So I was happy about that.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
No, I'm with you. Like the Record Store Day thing, I think is interesting because there's a lot of videos about it. I admittedly, like when the list comes out, I do feel for myself, that's always a good opportunity to at least throw something out there. But then after Record Store Day, like the last thing I wanted to do was like talk about it because it's a long, like, at least when I do it, like it's a long day and I go to all these record stores, and the last thing I want to do is, and plus I do feel like I do want to kind of keep some of that close guarded, because I think it's probably, and this is just my opinion, showing all the records that you get sometimes, like it's kind of nauseating, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, there's only so much bandwidth, and I don't want to take the viewer on a 40-minute journey talking through like 8 records. If I buy, if I have a haul like that, so I let everyone else do the Record Store Day thing, and I didn't get caught up in the propulsion of it. But to each their own. There's no judgment here.
Yeah, I've become very organized about how I'm collecting records. I kind of have a master list of what I want to acquire, not particular pressings and just titles.
Okay.
To round out my collection, or, I'm kind of like, I've talked about it in a couple of videos, curating a collection, and for me, like, I'd rather spend the money on a certain title than just get like, this, something that was put together for Record Store Day that's some outtakes or something like that. It's it's a more methodical approach, I guess, to building the collection.
No, I definitely think there's different levels of collecting. Everyone collects for their different reasons and so forth. But before we segue to that, the last thing I want to ask you about the YouTube experience is, would you recommend it now that you've done it since 2021? Would you recommend it to somebody who may be on the fence, or if you were in a similar situation, somebody you knew is like, yeah, I see what you do, it looks fun. Would you recommend it? Because obviously there's a lot that goes with it, not only the time consideration of your time making content and the creativity, but also, I mean, I'm sure you've had them, these goofy troll people that just live to be jerks.
Yeah.
so it's part of the recipe, it's part of the herbs and spices. So would you recommend the YouTube experience as a creator to others?
Well, that you mentioned that about the trolls. That's one thing that my friend warned me about. The first time I got a negative, like a really nasty negative comment, I was so upset,
Of course.
And I really have only had one guy that was added no value at all, just negative, from my appearance to my knowledge to my, whatever.
Right.
And I had to block him. That's the only person I ever had to block. And so I don't miss him at all.
Well, my guess is it's probably the same one that bothers a lot of us, and nobody misses that person. If it's the same. But would you recommend, outside of the troll experience, would you recommend the experience to others if someone asked?
I think if you have some passion and knowledge in a certain area, sure. But be prepared, because like I work full time. I haven't had a day off in 2 years, really. I do. I have 2 days off a week, but they're making video.
That's right.
And editing video and coming up with the concepts. And, it'd be nice to go out in Miami on a Sunday afternoon, but I'm usually like finishing up a video and trying to get it out. So it's time consuming.
For sure.
And, the pressure to keep up with current titles and stuff is money consuming too. That's another
true.
point. Yeah. You want to kind of stay current and stay up with the current reissues, and there's only so much you can do. We're getting flooded with high quality stuff these days. And, when I did my taxes, I looked at how much I spent on records last year, and I was like, oh my God, there goes my retirement. But maybe I can sell my collection at some point for
there you go. Yeah, right. It's money on the shelf, as my friend Brandon says. So that's funny. So let's circle back to, you brought it up before about your collecting journey. So where did that start? Are you a lifelong collector, or were you a collector of other physical forms of media, CDs, cassettes, whatever? Like where did your vinyl collecting journey start?
It probably started like at 7 years old, collecting 45s. I had my little box of 45s.
Nice.
Yeah. And then when I got my first stereo, I started getting LPs, and that was kind of beginning of my Beatles phase. I was crazy about the Beatles and collected that. And all through my teens, I collected vinyl. I worked at a record store when I was 16, 17, and that was a great experience. I had access to so much stuff and heard so much stuff. And as time went on, I just kept building and building. But there came a point where I was poor and I had to sell off stuff. And it kills me to think of it to this day, the stuff I sold off for 25 or 50 cents a record. Beautiful stuff,
wow,
too, That was back then when a store would just, try to...
pennies on the dollar, yeah.
It was terrible. But so I've had to rebuild my collection ever since then. I may still have some things from my early days, but most of it is newer.
Okay.
So that probably segues into, I know you want to ask me about originals and reissues. I used to have all the originals. That's the thing, and for me to chase them down again, it has to be a really strong case for the original. And I was thinking about this recently, like Moody Blues. I I have a couple of British pressings. They're superior by far to anything else I've heard, any reissue, any US pressing. And yeah, in that case where there's not a really strong quality reissue, I have to go for the originals, so I will. But I'm very, very picky about sound quality, and I'm not one of those that thinks that ticks and pops are part of the allure of vinyl.
Okay.
Yeah, I really don't like that. And people say, why don't you just listen to digital? And I'm like, it's complicated.
So circling back to you're collecting. So you've been collecting. It sounds like your lifetime, right?
Yeah.
Has it always been the same genres, or have you diversified your, for lack of a better word, your palette,
No.
the things you've really enjoyed? Like what does that look like?
Completely. Well, I started with top 40 and then rock and then hard rock. In my teens, it was, Nugent and Aerosmith and Black Sabbath and Blue Oyster Cult and all that. And I saw all those bands too at that time. And it was around the time I started working at the record store. I was exposed to imports. I started listening to Kraftwerk and Eno and
Bauhaus and stuff like that.
Yeah. More German experimental, and I really got quite into experimental music. And then progressive rock. So progressive sort of led a little bit into classical, but really my interest in classical got started with my reading, which was I was reading the Absolute Sound religiously back when they were a digest size format, and a lot of the reviewers of the equipment were using classical to evaluate equipment, and that caught my interest. And I said, let me try some. And progressive rock has elements of classical, of course. So it was kind of a natural for me. And there was a flood of records on the market because CDs had just come out, and people were dumping their collections. So I picked up a lot of my classical for pennies. Really, I never paid much more than $2 for any of my classical records, and with a couple of exceptions. But so I got into classical, and then and also folk and a little bit of blues, but jazz was the last frontier for me.
That's what I was going to ask you, because the topic du jour, at least it feels like in the community, let's call it the last 18 to 24 months, has been jazz.
Yeah.
And everyone, I would say everyone, but a lot of folks doubling down on jazz, and obviously that coincides with just the abundance of riches that we have from the labels, right? Be it Acoustic Sounds, Mobile, whoever, right? So you've taken the 2 feet jump into jazz, huh?
Yeah. I had dipped my toe into jazz back in the 90s, but with these high quality reissue series, it's like you have beautiful pressings and masterings, all analog. It's like now's the time to really delve into the jazz and collect it, because this may not happen again.
That's true. That's very true.
And you have the contemporary series, which I just reviewed one today. This one, Poll Winners.
Okay.
I would have never thought to buy that, but since it's out on Acoustic Sounds contemporary series, Bernie Grundman, QRP, $20. I was like, yes. And I named it for my Sunday morning jazz pick. It's really good for that. But yeah, I think just the abundance of riches, like you say, these series are compelling. The high quality masterings. There's no need, for me, there's no reason to go search for an original Blue Note and pay an astronomical sum of money when you have these, Music Matters, Tone Poets, and Blue Note Classics done by the best in the business. It's a no-brainer, really, to me.
For sure. What are you, topic du jour kind of going around now is those OJCs are coming back out, right?
Oh.
Kraft is behind them. How do you feel about those? Excited? Yeah, he's rubbing his hands together, everybody. Feed me more.
Very excited. I think it's going to be a great series. They have what they have Kevin Gray, they have RTI. I imagine they're going to be stout jackets for $30. What is it? $30?
38, yeah, 38, yeah. But
yeah,
well, that's what I was going to ask you, because I've noticed. Obviously, you've noticed this too. Price points keep going up. Part of that is inflation. Part of that's demand. It's a poo-poo platter of variables, right? But I will say, and I've said this from Jump Street, when these titles keep, especially brand new titles or brand new reissues, $38. Let's stay there. When I'm paying $38, I have a premium expectation. If I'm paying a premium price for what is deemed a premium product, I have a premium expectation. So I'm sure, and I think we've talked about this before privately. We get these records and they come to us with the seam splits or all that stuff. There's nothing more frustrating, because these things are going to happen once in a while, but I'm sure you've experienced it. You pull the record out of the jacket and it, it looks like it hit the shop floor. You got to clean it. So do you feel the same way? I know you do. I'm kind of leading you with this one, but
yeah.
As the price points keep going up, do you think it's right or wrong that collectors should have a premium expectation for this product?
No, absolutely should. Absolutely. At $38, I think is a sweet spot for a reissue that's done to the level of a tone poet. Beautiful, but it needs to be perfect. And this one's perfect. The other record I got this week, I don't know if I should mention.
Go for it.
Oh, okay. Well, Elvis in Memphis, One Step. I had planned on canceling it after my disappointment with CSN, and the record sounds good, but the quality control is awful. Dish. The first one's dished. It doesn't even touch the platter. The second one has distortion at the end of a side, and the side with Suspicious Minds, which is the last track, is off center. So it's like seasick. I mean, they've always been good about replacing it, but I'm wondering if that off center pressing, I mean, how many different stampers were done? I don't know. I don't think as many as they thought in the last year or when it was announced. So I'm afraid the replacement is going to be the same, but yeah, I expect a lot, and I don't put up with any of that crap on $125 pressings.
Oh no, I mean there is no margin for error. Again, I think I'm a little bit more flexible. New record, $25, $30.
Sure.
Comes with dings or something. I've learned to live. I hate it, but I've learned to live with it. Split seams, I can't do that.
No.
And not to get off on one of my patented rants here, but there's so many different things they could do differently, from the tensile straight, the jackets, to the way they put the vinyl in the actual jacket. There's a lot of things I think they could be doing differently. But yes, The higher the price point, particularly those one steps. I know there was a lot of folks had the Muddy Waters one step, and I saw countless videos, and I didn't even buy it, but I saw countless videos of people showing a lot of the warping you're talking about, the seam splits. I mean, nothing more disappointing than opening $125 record, like you said, and it's subpar on not just one level, multiple levels, right? I mean, it's such a buzzkill.
Imagine getting one of those things on the secondary market sealed.
Yeah, and you have no recourse.
Having no recourse. I have a few of those things sealed. I remember when Kind of Blue came out, there was a lot of reported problems. So I opened my sealed copy, and it checked it. And actually, I'm glad I did, because I had to replace something in it. But I don't know. You have to sell those. I mean, if you're going to sell those sealed copies at some point down the road, you got to say
as is. Yeah, I mean,
as is.
Yeah, because there's truly no recourse, and even those UHQRs. I mean, I like Chad and the stuff they do there, but I mean, and there's going to be production fallout. I've worked in supply chain most of my career. I understand how that works, but man, like we said, when you are paying that premium price, there's nothing more like a kick to the solar plexus than finding out that it's not where it should be. Or, and in fairness to the manufacturers, I'm sure that they don't want you to send you junk product either. But the worst.
Even I'm even kind of picky with the $19 reissue. This was, I just picked this up because I want to do a review on this, but I don't know if you can see this, but
it's waviness. Is that what I'm seeing?
Yeah, it was shrink wrapped so tight.
Oh, and that's Robin Trower. Is that what that is?
Yeah, Bridge of Size.
Oh man.
Yeah, that's Amazon. But I ordered another one. Hopefully it comes better, but because it did sound pretty good. But this is one I might want to search a UK on, because the reissues that are available, this one from 2014 and Friday Music, Friday Music, I've never been that thrilled about any of their stuff. Well, a couple things with Kevin Gray involved, but yeah, this is something. The record also had a few waves in it too. I was like, wow, a textured cover, cool. It goes with the image.
Nope, not so much. Last thing I want to talk about on your collecting journey is you made some videos. I won't call it 2 or 3 months, talking about purging, which a lot of us do, right? Like for a lot of different reasons. It could be financial, they could be running out of space, which is what I'm starting to experience myself.
Yeah.
At what point did you start thinking, man, I need to really start simplifying? Was it because you had records in multiple rooms of your home, or like what was that thought process like?
Moving them several times, 50, 60 boxes of records is a lot. And I moved into this house, and all my best stuff is in my main room, but in the garage or the vault is secondary stuff, thrift store stuff, doubles and triples of thrift store stuff. I picked up so much stuff during that time. I was haunting 5 thrift stores a day during the record purge, and I have a lot of stuff in there, and I am not going to pull it out to listen to it. Probably it's not in top quality shape, or it's stuff that I'm not interested in anymore. So, and with the expansion, because of the channel, the expansion of records coming in, I'm running out of room too. Not to mention the Vinyl Storage Solutions dual pocket system.
Oh, Mike in Canada, you've really done it to us collectors. I'm right there.
Slowly eating up shelf space.
Yeah. That's one thing he doesn't tell you is when you're putting the jackets or the records behind the jacket in that dual pocket and the gatefolds, and they conveniently are a little bit thicker on the shelves than I thought they would be. But it makes sense, right?
Yeah. Do you use those?
Oh yeah. I've been I wouldn't say I'm an early adopter, but I've been using them for a couple of years. I've kind of experimented with them, and I think I even commented on your video you did a week or two ago, because you do the what I'll call the surgical gatefold, where you take the 2 sleeves and put it together. I've bought his straight gatefolds because I was just like, I didn't, admittedly lazy about that. And I just didn't like the way the fit form. So I think the way you do it, the Frankensteining of the 2 into 1, I think is probably best practice, because his gatefold right now, the gatefold specific is decent, but it still has a lot of air, like it holds a lot of air, again, holding more shelf space. And it only has the 1 pocket if you have 2, you know what I mean? Like, so it's not perfected, and maybe it can't be perfected. So I've just been putting my gatefolds in 1 and just calling it a day. But you, right. I mean, I know you're the only one. I think Michael 45 does the same thing. I think I've seen some other channels who will literally perform Vinyl Storage Solution surgery to be able to, and it's a nice presentation, because then you can open the gatefold, you have the visuals, all that stuff.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm not thrilled about the gatefold situation, but I love the way they fit on modern single jackets. Beautiful.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's really clean, crisp.
Like this one, there's no extra material.
Yep.
It's tight. It's really nice. I got used to it. I never thought I'd get used to that record on the back of the jacket.
No, that's I've only been doing that, last 4 years or so, but I will say, and I mean, Mike should write us a check, as flattering as we're being right now. So hopefully if Mike listens to this, he'll cut us a check. But the other thing I really like about these is that, they have those sharp corners. So if you drop a record, which happens, they actually kind of are like almost protective about corner dings and stuff. Cause I've done that a time or two. And I don't know if he's ever advertised that as such. I don't know. It's like a little like byproduct feature that I think that there's no other sleeves on the market that can say that, you know what I mean? Just the way that they're cut and the way they're like formed. I mean, it's saved me from some corner dings.
Are you doing the wrap the flap around the spine?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I experimented with just the tucks, Not sounds terrible, just a touch. But without the adhesive, right? I've even experimented because I know he's experimented with tape on body versus tape on the flap.
Right.
I tried them both. I like the tape on body personally because the one thing I didn't really care about, like for Japanese sleeves, for example, is if you pull a record out, even if I was at a record show this morning, and you pull it out to look at it, and then the stupid flap sticks to the, like it's a mess, right? So I do prefer Mike's. I don't think he has a patent on it, but I mean, just having the tape on the body makes a world of difference. It makes it cleaner for extraction, for review, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm a big fan of his products. I was supposed to do a big overview of all of them, but it was so involved. There's so many variations of everything. It was a little too much to put together in one swoop. So that's why I did that last video.
Yeah, no, it was a great video for sure. All right, so the meat of the conversation, Scott, are you ready?
No.
No, but we already kind of hit on some of the cues. Is in some circles of the community, this can be a polarizing topic, but audiophiles, admittedly, see, I was leading you into a corner. No, audiophiles, and you're admittedly an audiophile. What does audiophile mean to you personally?
Okay. First of all, I'm not embarrassed to say I'm an audiophile. I know it has some negative connotations to some people's, but to me, it's just someone that appreciates music reproduced on quality equipment. So, it's not necessarily about records so much, although there are, audiophile productions and audiophile pressings. The term gets bandied around a lot, but to me, it's just someone that appreciates high quality, high end reproduction of music. So it doesn't have to be vinyl. It's just someone that's deeply into the sound of music, the sound of recordings.
And do you believe that extends not just to the recordings, but also the equipment? Because I know some people, that's another layer of the audiophile conversation, is that how if people, there's a lot of judgment. I hate to say this, but there's a lot, especially if anyone can see your setup in your videos, or you share a room tour or what have you. I can't believe that you have your speakers on the same level as your turntable, or I can't believe that, you're using Polk speakers. Those are trash. So there's a lot, but I mean, but it's like that in any kind of hobby or any kind of, adult experience. Right. So, do you think the audiophile experience extends to the equipment itself too, or is it really to each their own?
I think it does extend to it is to an extent about the equipment too, but it doesn't have to be megabuck equipment. There's great audiophile components in all levels. There's $500 turntables that are great,
Yes.
for a starter, or $1,000 amp or something. It's not like you have to go all the way up that ladder. And there's definitely a point where it peaks.
Sure.
In terms of value and sound quality improvements. But yeah, it's I was very careful about that at the beginning because I knew how hypercritical people can be of equipment, and I felt like I had decent equipment. But sure. If you did ever watch my first couple of videos, I actually did the evaluations in an audio salon, an audio store. Soundlux. I went there with my kind of blue 45s, and we did some comparisons on some audio note equipment. And I kind of did that to kind of give the channel a little bit of credibility at the beginning.
Yeah, proof. Yeah, social proof.
Yeah. And I said, I listened to it on my modest equipment and then this expensive equipment. This is what the conclusion I came to. But slowly over time, I started showing a little bit of my equipment and upgrades and stuff to the point where now I've upgraded a phono preamp and cartridge, and the amplifier is all tube now. So I feel like I have a system on the level that many people watching the channel might have.
Okay.
Or it's not like a very expensive one, but it's probably, I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to say, but.
Oh, no. Yeah. And it's not so much about price, but I know also like for me, right? Like when I started, like I still have it. I had like a Sony entry level turntable, right? Over 10 years ago when I started getting into records like heavily. But it's been kind of what you said is like piecemeal. It's like you learn a little bit more. I started going after vintage stuff. Like, so I have a Marantz turntable, and then I was like, I need a Marantz receiver, right? So it's clean, and it's the 70s stuff. So, what some call the golden age of hi-fi, right?
Right.
Is that the answer for everybody? No, it's the answer for me. Now I pair that with modern speakers, you know what I mean? And I have modern preamp. So, or a phono, but so to each their own, right? But to that point, there's a little bit of judgmentalness when it comes to, like, oh, well, how can you be the authority on X if your equipment is Y? And I think that's a little misguided personally.
That's why I always, whenever I'm commenting on sound, either in the forums or on my channel, if you go to my description box, it has everything listed that I'm listening on. So there can't be really any criticism because it's all there in black and white.
Yeah, full transparency. I've seen it. Like, you're in the Hoffman forums. I've seen you comment before on there. So the real topic, and I know we're a year removed from this, but I don't know if I know you probably commented on it over the course of some of your videos last year, but MoFi-Gate, did that change your perception of that company and their output and their product, knowing that there was the DSD step? Because I know some people swore them off entirely. I won't name names, but you know what I mean? Like, some people really were offended. I was a little bothered that there was some deliberate omission of their process. But I mean, their product, Mazzy says this all the time. Did it sound different the day before you learned this and the day after? And the fact of the matter is no, right?
Right.
So how did you feel about that whole experience, and did it change your experience and your perception of mobile fidelity?
I wasn't as upset as most people were, and I had a lot invested in at least the one steps. But I've been collecting mobile fidelity for years, and I like a lot of their output. And again, it's always on a case by case basis with them, because their mastering is kind of a house sound, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But it kind of woke me up to the overpricing, the one steps. That was really what kind of shook me up. And then I kind of looked at my shelf, and I realized I'm not really listening to these one steps. And I don't know if it's because it's such a pain in the ass to get the shit out the box.
To withdraw the material, yeah.
I had them in these clear hard plastic cases from Bags Unlimited, like a real box.
Yeah. Box within a box.
I was like, no. So they sit there. I play a few of them. I like Fragile. I like what's some of the other ones?
Like the Eagle stuff. Did you like the Eagle stuff they did?
I only got the first one, and I liked it. Yeah, but the CSN I thought was a disaster. And I didn't like that at all. Maybe not their fault. The tape might have just been tired, but
sure.
But then again, so speaking of Norman Maslov, I was in a thread, and he was going on and on and on about this. And
I got one of those because of his insistence. Yeah.
So I got that, and I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, and that's Jefferson. That's Jefferson Airplane, right?
Yeah. Surrealistic Pillow, 45. Yeah. It's wonderful. It's a great mono mastering. It takes place next to my Steve Hoffman one, the stereo one. But yeah, I haven't sworn them off. I'm not looking to sell them at this point. But
yeah, conveniently. Conveniently, there was some of the talk at the time of people just dumping and running. I've had it. I'm so over mobile fidelity. But conveniently, I didn't see these mass sales that were being threatened. Like I think when push came to shove, people are like, I'm not going to be so quickly to dump all this invested value, not just in expense, but also their time. And again, and like you said, the quality, some of the titles, high quality. The Dylan stuff, great. The Miles stuff, great. The Clapton Unplugged, man, you know what I mean? So it really is, like you said, I take the words out of your mouth, a case by case basis.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. But I was willing to give them a second chance for sure. Yeah.
Do you have, are you like a lot of us, do you have a lot of things on pre-order in advance? Like, because they always do this tease where the Van Halen one steps, I'll use that as an example, coming soon. And then that could mean 3 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, this Elvis was like, I went to look at my order because I had to have the order number. And I'm like, it was years ago, like 3 years ago. I ordered it with, I don't know, a couple other ones, and Bitches Brew, I think, and
Sure.
Sketches of Spain. I wanted to get something else. I haven't heard a word about that.
Oh, yeah. I can't imagine.
Yeah. I have VH1. I'm going to try one of them. Hotel California I have.
Same, yeah.
Because it'll probably sound good. But and I'm really curious about these Joni Mitchell ones, too. They've never been done on 45, so I don't know. I mean, the recent box sets have been great, though. Bernie Grundman did a wonderful job on those, and they're all analog. So it's really not necessary to do a one-step of it. But I got to say, one thing about the more I play with those boxes, the more I hate them.
Well, you're speaking to our friend in the Pacific Northwest. Your music to his ears, literally.
I don't like them. I'm like, you can get. They should have done Elvis like this.
Yeah.
Can you imagine a nice glossy cover of that Elvis shot? It's so beautiful.
Well, think about what they're doing too. About, like, say for example, like Vinyl Me Please, who I have like a love-hate relationship with sometimes, is that the quality of the jackets that they are using of late. I mean, there's high gloss, there's multiple treatments, there's the foil. There's so many layers of quality. It outputs quality, right? That I personally, kind of to your point, I would prefer that these manufacturers go down that path as opposed to another box. Because I'll be honest, the one-step boxes I'm not impressed. The quality, like I've had some of them bend if you leave them open. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think it's high-grade material. I understand why they do it for a presentation purpose and to make it feel special and unique. Not knocking that, but to your point, you can kind of get the same effect if you double down on the actual quality and materials and did some different kind of treatments, high gloss. So many different things they could do. And I've talked to other people in the community about this. It would also help that price point because, man, 125 is just really tough. Maybe 75 to 90 would really be, kind of the sweet spot. And again, I'm not trying to pick apart the pricing strategy, but I do think, and now, and this is a thing that always wrecks me too, is that starting with the Michael Jackson Thriller, they did that slimline box.
Right. Why? I never saw it. I never actually held one in my hand, but it's similar to the
Craft Recordings.
The
one. Yeah, it's just a slimline box, and why they changed that, because then the other one stuff's coming after it, the Elvis and so forth. Those were in their traditional box. I mean, why? More questions than answers, and I don't want to hijack the conversation. So, crazy. All right, well, Scott, I think we've hit the fun portion of the program. We've hit all the heavy hitting, probing questions. Let's do some rapid fire questions.
Okay.
All right. Nothing to be nervous about. This isn't the dentist's office. Don't worry. We're not getting the Novocaine here. Well, first question I got for you: do you believe, and there's a term thrown around a lot in the community, grails? Do you subscribe to this, and do you believe in grails?
Yeah, I believe in them, but can't say that I have any. Yeah.
Okay. So you've checked those off your list, if and when they existed.
Yeah, I like. You mean like a particular country of origin pressing that you have to have?
Sure, like if it's like the Abbey Road 1A, 1B, or I'm making that up, but something like that.
Right. I definitely believe in it. For me, I'm not going down that path right now. So, but if I come across one, I'll know it's a grail.
You'll know when you see it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Next one I got for you. What was the hardest record for you to find? And similar to that grails thing, where once you knew you were looking for it, it wouldn't say obsess you, but it was definitely top of mind for a long time, and until you got it. What's the hardest one that's been hardest for you to track down?
I don't know. I'd have to think about that. Probably a classical one.
Really?
And I ended up, one of the few classical titles I ended up paying a lot of money for. It was Gerhard's The Plague, it's called.
Okay.
It's fairly obscure. It's on Decca. There wasn't a lot made because it's an odd record, but it was in Harry Pearson's Absolute Sound disc, super disc list forever. And I wanted a copy. And never saw one. Hardly ever saw one for sale. And one day I before the internet, I think it was. And
oh, wow.
I found one. Yeah. Yeah. I was around before the internet.
No. Well, tease, there'll be a question about that coming up here at the end, but no, I mean, and I'm sure you can relate to this, the feeling of finding a record like that in the wild, just randomly. I call it the oh shit moment, right? Like where you're flipping and you're like, oh shit, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like because the more you collect and the longer you've been doing this, like a lot of us have, those moments are fewer and far between, but they still exist. And so even if, like, I've been in shops before where somebody next to me or aisle over has that experience, and I always love hearing that because that's what kind of draws us into the hobby and really makes us appreciate it, is those little moments, right? Because the surprises, again, as particularly used market is drying up, like those times are few and far between.
Yeah. I remember one time I was in a thrift store called Bargain Barn. It was like, they had a lot of records, but they were always picked through. And one day I was going through one box and I saw this classical record, a violin record on Capitol, The Magic Bow. And I knew it was like a valuable record. It's like a $500 record. And I carefully pulled it out and it was like perfect, just perfect.
Awesome.
And that's, I used to love that kind of stuff. But here, the records, the thrift stores don't have anything anymore.
Yeah, the thrift store scene, I think, holistically is 10 years ago, different story. You could still find great stuff. But now I think that, again, with the advent of the internet, I know like Goodwill, for example, has their own website, Shop Goodwill, which has really just distorted the whole idea of thrifting as a whole. But all right, so next one I got for you, Scott. If you move, you kind of hit on this before about moving with records, but if you move, will your entire collection follow, or will this be an opportunity to okay, you're already shaking your head. Going to streamline it even further? This is
something that's going on in my head. That's really what that curating, downsizing project is all about, is because I may have to move at some point, in the next 10 years or so. I want to have a concise collection. I'm going to keep my vinyl, but I'm going to keep all the best. And I'm thinking maybe it'll be about 2,000, maybe 2,000 instead of 5,000. So I have to get rid of a lot.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Next one for you. What would you say is your favorite part of the vinyl community on YouTube? Is it the people? Is it the information share? What is that? This
is something that totally took me by surprise with a channel. Is I've met so many great people that, if they're in town, they want to meet, or if even like I went to an audio show and someone came up to me and like, oh, I love what you do. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? I'm like, oh, that, yeah, thank you. but I've made some great friends in the comments. And I think this is part of the secret to the success of the Pressing Matters is the comments I pay a lot of attention to. I know, like, you can leave a comment on somebody's video and you might not even get an answer, or you might just get a heart, an acknowledgement, like or something. Yes. No, I go into discussion with people and they love it. It's important. And it's important. I've developed some great friendships through there, and some very nice people. That's been one of the greatest things. I agree wholeheartedly. That's been one of my favorite, actually, if not the favorite part, is the connective piece of even people that, I'm going to be honest, I probably will never meet, but just having that connect point and remembering the names, you know what I mean, is like, oh yeah, there's such and such from such and such. It's so great to see them, especially if you haven't seen them in a minute. That's always jazzes me up. Yeah. All right.
Well, Scott, we're at the end. I got one more for you, and then I'll let you go about your Miami day.
All right.
So you touched on it earlier, but I'm going to come back to the internet piece because, like you said, you've been doing this well before the internet. Now we're in the internet age. What does Discogs mean to you? Is it a information tool only? I mean, is your entire collection cataloged? Is it essential now for the modern record collector? What say you?
I think it is essential. I use it mainly as a cataloging tool. Not my whole collection is not in there. It's probably, I have about 1,500 records in there, and it is kind of essential to have all that information, to know exactly what pressing you have and the value that it's had over time. It's quite interesting to see as you keep entering how that figure just jumps. It's like, whoa, yeah, it's pretty cool. I do buy things off there as well. I don't really use eBay, so if I need a rare, or a certain pressing, I will go through Discogs. So yeah, it's a very valuable thing. I love it.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Scott, we did it. We did it.
All right.
You can now set your phasers to relax. We are through the hard period. Big sigh. No. Seriously, Scott, I'm glad we could connect on this. I've always wanted to talk to you in a more direct fashion. I know we interacted, like I said, on the live stream a couple weeks ago, and we talk in the comments exactly what you're talking about, right? But yeah, I've always appreciated you being supported my channel and the stuff you do on your channel, and again, appreciate you taking this time here. But this is Scott Wilson, The Pressing Matters. Check it out on YouTube. I'll have links below if you either see this on YouTube on my channel or if you hear it on Vinyl Community Podcast. All the information will be there. But a very entertaining and informative resource in the vinyl community for audiophile and beyond. Let's check out The Pressing Matters. But Scott, thank you for your time, buddy. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Chance. I appreciate it.
Talk to you again.
All right.
And that was another trip around the turntable. Thanks for listening to Vinyl Community Podcasts.